Hi folks, I'm Kerry Farr. Welcome to In Your Corner. Hey, tonight we're going to have a blast. I've got some of the dearest friends of mine in the world here tonight. And if you're from Nashville, Tennessee, you probably remember these guys. And I'm going to start way over here on the right and introduce Buddy West. You know, I met Buddy West when he was about 10 years old, and Buddy already had about 100 boxing matches when he was 10 or 11 years old. A former national Golden Glove champion, and we'll come back to Buddy in just a minute. Moving right next to him, Mr. Jonathan Reed Dog Reed. This man right here is a TV star. He was one of the stars of the first NBC Contender Series, and he also fought William Joppy for the middleweight championship of the world. Jonathan Reed Dog Reed. And then next to him, Mr. Keith McKnight, the former Intercontinental Champion, had wins as a professional over that very dangerous Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson had hurt Lennox Lewis in a heavyweight championship fight, had McKnight down twice in the second round, but Keith got up and beat him. He also knocked out the great Iran Barkley and another former world champion, J.B. Williamson. And then immediately to my right, Tim Scrap Iron Johnson. This young man right here actually fought for 2 world championship fights. One in Mobile, Alabama, and one in Recife, Brazil. And we're going to come back and talk about those in just a few minutes. But let's go over here to Buddy West to start with. Buddy, you know, how did you end up with so many fights, 400 amateur fights?
I'd say when I first started in 1980, there were so many teams around Nashville area. We'd go to Franklin on Friday night, fight, and we'd go Mount Juliet on Saturday night in a strip mall and fight. And there was just so many different clubs that, I mean, sometimes I'd fight 2 times a night on Friday, 2 times on Saturday.
So you had a ton of fights. And what weight did you fight at, buddy?
When I won the Nationals, it was bantamweight 119.
He was 119 pounds and what, 6 foot tall?
5'11".
5'11". And what do you guys remember? You guys remember anything about Buddy West?
I remember Buddy being a little skinny white kid coming in the gym, you know. me being muscular, I was like, man, I'll get in there with that Bama. And that Bama Jam can put some pop nuts on you that'll make you go home and smack your auntie. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you love that too, didn't you? I mean, you love for them big muscle-bound guys. Here you were a tall, skinny kid, and them big muscle-bound guys that come in the gym and want to spar with you.
But I knew all these guys. I mean, that was different. It's the ones that came in off the street that, you know, hey, I'm muscle and I can do it. I'll fight on the streets, and it's a whole nother set of rules in that ring. When you're in them 4 corners, it's a whole nother set of rules.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that's my house.
That's right. He proved that time or two, didn't he?
He sure did.
You know, first thing I remember is we fought at East High School. It was like, I think it was like my 2nd or 3rd fight. Actually, I didn't have a fight that night. But I remember he came out to Wild Wild West to the music, you know. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. I was like, wow, this is cool, man. You know, as an amateur, you got it, the whole place was rocking, had the music kicking.
Well, that was right after the National Gold Gloves.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was right when I first started.
Matter of fact, that might have been my last fight as an amateur, period.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember like it was yesterday.
You know what I remember about that night? Donnie Broadway had a boxing ring that was so heavy, it was like picking up railroad tracks, and nobody would stay around to take the ring down afterwards because it was so heavy.
I did that. I got plenty of stories about not taking the rings down. I've heard from you a few times taking the ring down.
It was tough.
My biggest memory with Buddy West is he's a white kid from West Nashville. He wasn't supposed to have the rhythm he had and the movement. Just the awesome movement that I learned from him. I remember the horseshoe, you put the tape and said just follow Buddy West for a while. I used to go to PAL, use the tape, man. The footwork and the mobility he taught me alone, hey, I soaked it up. And it saved me, not necessarily from some losses, but saved me from getting knocked out plenty of nights.
Hey,
I appreciate that, the mobility.
He had incredible mobility, and the one advantage, Buddy, that you had over these guys, I mean, you had 100 fights before these guys started. So I suppose in the early days, every one of you had a spanking from Buddy.
Oh man.
Please.
Come on, now, I was 119 pounds.
That don't matter.
Y'all say what
Hey,
you
whoopings
want.
come in all sizes. It
Y'all
don't
say
matter
what-
how
Well,
much
that's
you weigh.
the whole
I wasn't
element-
but
that's the whole element
119
of
pounds. Y'all
surprise.
didn't.
You see a 119 pounder in front of you, you're like, wow, man.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Come on, man. It's the element of surprise
Yeah.
before you know it.
Well, I remember when I was coming on, I had won a couple of them good little tournaments, and then you came in to spar, boy, it was, whew, he's putting them BBs on me. Pow,
But
pow,
he's
pow.
always-
You know, he's
always
just
a
so
humble guy.
fast and had that range, and then you think you get inside on him, and he'd rip you there too, you know what I mean? It was like, man, I don't want to
Step
spar
around.
with Buddy no more.
I think the main thing with him was, I guess when I sparred with him, it'd be like, okay, I'm gonna crack you one of these. One good time, I'm gonna slow you down. So in my mind, I'm thinking 1, and he's thinking 4 or 5. So when I throw that 1, he.
Yeah, the whole time. But the whole
Yeah.
time he's just pop, pop, you know?
Well, just to let y'all know, this nose used to sit flatter and more over here. Doc was nice to me with some
I
sinus
hear you.
surgeries.
I don't know who called it because it wasn't me.
Hey, you do got a wife, right?
Yeah. Lucky there.
Hey, buddy, but let's go back. You know, in the amateurs, I mean, man, I was in Texas in 2001. I moved to Dallas, and I'm in a gym in Fort Worth, Texas, and there's a guy there by the name of Paulie Ayala, world champion at the time. And I introduced myself to him, and I said, hey, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And he said, you know, I fought in the Nationals, and said there was a guy from Nashville, Tennessee by the name of John West that beat me. Buddy West. I said, you're talking about Buddy West. So, Buddy, you beat not only Paulie Aiello, who ended up being a world champion, who are some of the other guys that you beat that ended up being world champions?
The day I beat Paulie Aiello, that was my second fight of that day for the tournament. Matter of fact, he didn't have to. I was the only fighter that had to draw all of fighting 2 fights in one day. Let's see, I fought Frederick Norwood in the finals. He won the championship. Aristide Clayton, he held a championship. It may have just been a continental championship, but he did hold one. Junior Jones.
Junior Jones. You beat Junior Jones.
And there's one more.
I mean, these are
We can't
bad
forget about-
guys.
Yeah.
What
those
about
boys
what about
pop.
the ranked guy he fought on Laverne that faked the ankle injury and got out of the fight?
Well, there was some guy that came in from Detroit, I think, and
Yeah, it was
used an
Detroit.
alias name.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
he
what it
did.
was.
Sugar.
And Buddy put them hands on him.
Sugar Boy, Sugar Baby.
Sugar Baby was who it was, but
Yeah.
I don't remember his real name.
Right.
Faked the ankle injury. Didn't
Right.
have, I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Like, he snuck out of that fight on you.
You want to know the truth about that fight? Caught a headbutt in the second round. I don't remember. All I remember is just it being over.
Oh,
Nobody knows that.
It was over because of him, not because
Yes,
of you,
yes.
though.
Nobody
yeah.
knows that.
But he hit you with a headbutt,
Yes.
and you
Just
didn't
kinda
remember the rest of the fight.
No.
That's a true fighter.
One thing I've always said about boxing, I can teach somebody how to punch, teach somebody how to move. You know, I can give you all the skills, put you in shape you want. If you ain't got heart, you can't do it.
So when you go back to the corner and you say, man, I see 3 of them, Kerry's like, hit them off.
My dad told me I used some foul language towards him. He was mad at me. He didn't understand that I didn't know where I was at. That, you know, just, I don't know what to say.
Because you've been doing it so long, your body just took over.
Yeah.
You know,
hard,
that's
man.
what
It's
it
a
is.
fighter's
Yeah, you've been
hard.
doing it so long. You know, it's just reflex.
Me and my dad and my uncle actually had words after that because I still didn't know where I was in the dressing room.
That's the
My
fighter
wife
in you,
was,
man.
you know, she come and she calmed me down and let me know, hey, you're here. This is where you're at. This is what happened, and you know, it's just instinct takes over. And like I said,
That was actually probably about the time you were putting your hands all over him then.
well, you know,
at the end of the fight, because I still remember vaguely.
I remember that night.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go over to Jay Reed, the man in the middle.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. So Jonathan Reed fought for the middleweight championship of the world. Was a Don King house fighter. What was that like fighting for the world championship, Jay Reed?
Well, at the time, it was my first time, you know, fighting for a world championship. You know, we took the fight on short notice, which, you know, a lot of times a lot of fighters do, but it was 7 days notice for me. So I was in the gym. I was ready on weight, but I wasn't ready mentally. When I went into the fight, you know, I got all the I'm gonna win, I can win. But when that mammoth jump hit me with a body shot. I mean, I've been hit with a body shot before. But Joppy hit me with a body shot. I was like, ooh, ooh. I know there's a couple of times where you sit on the stool and you wonder, do I really want to come back out here when the bell rang?
I hear you.
But you know, Joppy was known for throwing an overhand right, and so when you got 2 right-handed fighters fighting, and you know they're known for throwing an overhand right, you know the coach is teaching me to turn here, catch the overhand, come back with my own right hand. So he turned his body like he was getting ready to throw that overhand right, and I turned, but he was coming with a left to the body, so I turned right into the left. And when he hit me, I was like, oof, oof. And I started backing up, popping my jab instead of when I was jabbing, my left leg was locking because I was backing up, and I know he noticed it from being so experienced. I was like, wow, I was glad that was over.
I hear you.
But after that, you ended up being a star on a Contender. You got to rub shoulders with Sugar Ray Leonard, Sylvester Stallone. What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I think being on that show was great, especially being around Sugar Ray. Of course, Sylvester Stallone, he was a television boxer. You know, they teach him how to throw little techniques.
He was a Rocky kind of boxer.
He's a Rocky kind of boxer.
That wasn't real? That wasn't real?
Shut the front door, son. I hate to spoil it for you, man. But you know, Sugar Ray Leonard, you can sit around and talk to him like just talking to one of the guys. A lot of times, being there, it seemed like Stallone was doing things just for the camera. You know, if we were in a room, you know, Stallone would be all quiet, but as soon as the cameras came in, he was, and then you want to start talking to him, but that you lose respect for somebody like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't really a fighter. When you were talking to Ray Leonard, you were talking to the master boxer.
Yes, sir.
And you talking to Sly Stallone, you were talking to a movie actor.
That's right.
Yeah.
He wasn't part of the group.
Right.
What do you guys remember about Jay Reed coming up?
Come on.
Always ready to spar. I will say that. Always. I mean, never back down from sparring. Anytime I needed sparring, he was there. Matter of fact, all these guys were like that. But I mean, quick. When he was on his game, he was on his game.
I remember sparring Keith one time, and you know I come from a martial art background, and Keith was he was coming. I was in the corner, and Keith was getting ready to throw a right hand, and I was like, oh. So my martial art senses kicked in. I raised up my front leg and shot a side kick at him, and realized in the motion that I was shooting the side kick. I'm not supposed to be kicking, so I pulled it. And the whole gym just busted out laughing. Like, man, you ain't supposed to be a king. I said, well, I'm going to have to do something because he's coming.
I remember that. But like you said, he was always ready to spar. Jay Reed started late, you know, and he came in, but he fit right in the gym. You know, you got your gym family.
Yeah.
You get people that come in, other fighters, you know, you kind of, hey, how you doing? But Jay Reed came in, he fit right in. He blended into the family right off the bat.
Yeah, I remember that powerful and fast left jab.
Yeah.
Had a natural, gifted jab.
And always singing,
You got
doing something in the
tremendous
gym,
voice,
always making people laugh.
I don't know much about his voice a lot, but I know when I spar with him, he's strong.
Yeah, he's real strong.
He's real strong. You know, I guess maybe it's probably me. I have a knack of making people mad, so he used to come get me every time we worked. I think he busted me up. So
Man,
super strong, man, and with. Always got a good joke to tell about life from McKnight. Always ready to keep you laughing, man. So.
Well, you know, I remember that night you and Frankie Wood fought. I think it was in our gym, and you guys had a war, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was. I was coming off of a loss as an amateur, and then Frankie and I were the only two guys that could be matched, and he gave up. I guess I was giving up everything. I was fighting heavyweight, wasn't I?
I was thinking
Shut the front door. He didn't give up nothing.
He fought at 185 pounds, something like that.
I think somebody get Frankie's number before I leave here, man. I gave up weight and everything, and I was just in there. Man, we was going at it, man.
Yeah.
Those were the rough days.
His daddy didn't get involved?
His daddy was always involved.
Yeah, but that was, I mean, how many people have fought on a Don King show and fought for the world championship and then started in a Contender? Kudos to Jay Reed Dog Reed.
Yeah. But he's still, the whole thing is he's still Jay Reed. You know, he never let any of it get to him. So
the amazing thing is he didn't start boxing when he was 20 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so
well, you guys all came up together.
Hard thing to do. He started late. So
he started late. We need to get him to quit early.
Well, we switched over to McKnight here, and everybody used to call him Mag Knight.
And that's the one we're mad at you. McKnight wouldn't be mad. It's McKnight if I'm mad at you.
If there's mad at you. Keith walked in the gym when he was about 16 or 17 years of age. Timmy, you probably remember.
About the size of this right here.
Yeah, he was tall and thin. I think 165 pounds.
Wow.
Hard of a line.
Yeah, but ended up, you know, fighting amateur for 3-4 years, and then fought professionally. Ended up with a 44-win, 4-loss record.
Yeah.
Beat Phil Jackson and future Hall of Fame fighter Iran Barkley, retired Iran Barkley. You knocked out Iran Barkley and J.B. Williamson, 2 former world champions.
Yeah.
Tua.
Yeah, beat Tua, and you know, and
Yeah.
had some real nice
A few
wins.
good wins.
Yeah.
It was nice. I remember knocking out Williamson, though. That was the first one that really, you know, kind of felt like I did something then, you know.
You knocked
being
him
a
out in the
former
first
champion.
round, right? That
First round.
Yeah, former light heavyweight champion of the world. You knocked him out in the very first round.
Where
But he
was that
came
at?
into a hostile environment. You know, we had a big crowd at home, so he had to do a lot to win that night. You know, we were
Anybody
ready.
would.
We had a good camp,
With you.
you know, and
At home.
beating him was fun. But sitting down talking to him about winning the belt, that was pretty cool. You know, after the fight, we spent about an hour together talking about what it was like to win the title and everything. So that was pretty cool, you know, to be around somebody like that.
What are some of your highlights, memories? You know, because you fought on USA a number of times. You had a run where you knocked out 4 or 5 people in a row on television.
Right. It was fun. I just remember, you know, more than anything, I remember the camps. You
Yeah.
know, it always seems like that. Like when I fought Iran Barkley, I don't remember hardly any of the fight. I don't know. I guess it's because I was so focused and my body took over or whatever. But I remember the camps. You know what I was doing in camp, out running or throwing football with people. You know, or hanging with my trainers like we were talking the other day. You know, I had Luther Burgess with me. Just, you know, that's the stuff I remember. The little stuff. The fights was always the easy part. The training camp was what I remember, the hard stuff.
And I remember when you fought Barkley, I don't remember much about the fight either.
Yeah, I mean, it just happened, you know. It's the one performance that I felt like I did really good, and I didn't get any tape on it. Can't watch it, you know.
They couldn't film it because we were in a casino.
Yeah.
And you know what? Wow. What I remember about that fight was more than anything was the press conference when one of your stablemates, one of our fighters, one of our dear friends, Warren Williams, got up and told Iran Barkley, he's going to knock you out.
Yeah, he did. Remember, he did it sneaky because he was a black guy, you know, and so he stood up and he said, I'm going to play the race card. And he looked at Barkley and he said, the white boy's going to whoop you. You know what I'm saying? So he switched it on him. He thought it was going to be the one way, and then he switched it on. But he had my back. Warren always had my back. Yeah. I could call him right now, and he'd say, come back now, you can still do it. I got your back. Man, I can't do it.
What do you guys remember about Keith and his career?
Well, I remember Keith always, when we come to the gym, you know, he didn't play. None of these guys play. You know, nowadays you go in the gym, everybody's running their mouth when the work bell's going on, depending on who's in there coaching. But you know, Keith didn't play. You know, you see Keith walking in the gym, like, oh Lord, I guess I got to spar today. But you know, when you spar with him, because he's sparring a smaller guy, you know, he would pull his punches, not to the point where you'd be like, I'm walk right through him. You know, he would pull his punches, and then because he was so tall, the tricky thing about him is him being the height that he is. You know, any normal coach would be like, get in close to him, you know, fight him on the inside. He's got a good inside game. So you get in there and try to fight him on the inside, you'd be like, man, I'd have been in the wrong place. Then he'll make you get back outside, where you really don't want to be there because he's so long. He was a complete fighter all the way around. He could fight inside, he could box you, and he could fight if he needed to fight.
But all you guys, I mean, like, you were like a middleweight, and Keith, as an amateur, was a light heavyweight, and as a pro, was a heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So you guys shouldn't have been sparring, and Buddy shouldn't have been sparring with any of you, 119 pounds, but he was so skillful.
And he sure should have been whooping us. He's smaller than all of us, he's still whooping all of us.
That's because y'all was pulling punches, remember?
Right.
No, I was coming.
I'll say this.
I started off pulling the punches with you, but after I got tagged a few times, I was coming.
I'll say this about
didn't work.
McKnight. He had more natural ability than any fighter you ever had. He was natural. I don't know how to say it. I mean, for a white boy to have the ability, the natural that he had, you know, I mean, it's not much that you see. A lot of times most white guys are straight up and down.
Yeah.
You know, and Keith wasn't. Keith, I don't know. I don't know how you dance, but.
Well, both you guys could box. Both you guys could. You and Keith both could box.
I remember when Keith was that 6 foot whatever, 100 pounds when he came to the gym. Remember?
Yeah,
And remember
because you
me,
were older. Yeah,
Yeah, I done had.
He was the
30
man in
done
the
had
gym,
some
he
man.
was the man, and
And I
you know,
remember me and you vaguely discussing, hey, once we get a little rough today, you know, see what Midnight's about a little bit and test him a little bit. And well, I'm going to have to jump down and come down. I had a lot of experience on my time at the time. But I remember the biggest thing that told me he's going to be a champion is he kept coming back no matter what. And he'd come back and whoop my butt the next day. Every dog has his day, like you always
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
But I remember I had so much, I had weight on, maybe a little bit of manhood and strength on him. And he was still 17 or 18 years old. And I jumped on him a couple of times off the bat. And we wanted to see where he was. And you can't run him off, man. And
He stayed,
we
yeah,
had some crazy times on the weekends once in a while too.
Yeah,
I've
you guys
seen
were always-
knock
Yeah.
a few people out on the block too. But I will
We
say
had
this: he
some
was
time.
never a bully, and it was always. Well, I don't know if there's ever a probable cause to do that, but Keith was when he's in the right. You know, most of the time he's a good-hearted guy, and that I'll never forget him. He always kept coming back, and then it was like it wasn't 4 years later. It was 215 pounds, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't even want to spar with him next month.
Yeah, well, he was a heavyweight, and he could hit you with 3-4 punches in 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah,
And again, like Buddy, the mobility that he had naturally, plus and learned, and the quick hands. I mean, look at this, quick hands with that. I mean, Midnight, and what he does today, he's never stopped. You know, where I've gotten away from the game, and he's never stopped, and he's taking everything he's learned, and he's passing it on. So
To the
I
kids.
commend him, and it's pretty awesome, man. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it.
well, you know, we've only
You're a
got
champion.
about 4 minutes left, so I want to get to you, Timmy Scrap Iron Johnson.
Yeah.
We started calling him Scrap Iron because he was such a scrapper and so tough. And I mean, the stories we could tell, some of the, you know, but Timmy fought for 2 world championships. I want you to take us back and talk a little bit about that, and then I want to at least take a minute or two and talk about a couple of the knockouts that you had.
The World Championships. Can we just skip the Randall Yonkers? No, we fought a pretty good fight with Randall Yonkers. Actually, we were winning on the
I
scoring
think you're
cards.
going to beat
And I
both
think
guys in both title shots. Yeah.
I think pretty much moving and counter punching, and you know it was a learning experience for me. You know, which you know I lost my cool. It wasn't a 6th, 7th round, and I did what he wanted and stood there with him toe to toe, and he caught me with a good body shot. And second title fight, I still think he may have edged me, but I think we may have been cheated a little bit there. You know what I'm talking about, Kerry.
Yeah.
Where we got cut early in the 2nd round, and you know, of course, I got on my bicycle and finished that round. I'll never forget the reverse psychology that you said. I think it was laid open, and you told me, "No, it's nothing but a scratch, Timmy." But anyway, 6 rounds later, and I had 7th, 8th round. I think was pretty much competing well, and might have had a chance to clip the guy, but they just stepped in out of nowhere and stopped it. So, but it was an awesome experience, and I appreciate you always stay by my side, regardless, you know.
Well, I've got to
And,
tell a story about
so-
being in Recife, Brazil with you. We're in
What's about?
Recife, Brazil. And of course, Timmy never ran his mouth.
No.
Neither did Muhammad Ali. But Timmy was trying to emulate Muhammad Ali. And we're in this big meat market, or this big tin roof flea market. It's about a block square. And so Timmy starts running his mouth. The promoter was taking us around for news conferences and stuff like that. And this butcher in Brazil gets mad and comes out with a meat cleaver and starts threatening us with a meat cleaver. So Timmy cools it down a little bit, and we escape with our lives. And then the fight's the next night. We're in a bull ring. It's like an arena, but 5,000 Brazilians are there. It's Thanksgiving here in the States, but it was summertime down there, and it's hot. And so Timmy starts sticking his tongue out at the guy he's fighting, sticking his chin out. And so so everybody in the audience, all these people start going nuts. They start throwing oranges and apples and ice and everything in there. And really, I think you were out schooling Toto Duro. I can't remember his real name, but
Luciano Torres.
Luciano Torres.
Yeah.
And you were beating the guy, and they stepped in and stopped the fight in the 8th round because of a cut. What do you guys remember about Scrap Iron?
Well, I'd be willing to bet that wasn't the first time he had a cleaver pulled on him. So I'm just going to get that out of the way.
I can't recall.
Name speaks for itself.
Do what?
Name speaks for itself. Scrap Iron.
That's it.
I mean,
I'll go ahead and put it on record. We've argued about this for years, and we're old men now. You dropped me with that right hand that one time sparring. that we've always fought about, that I told you didn't do it. So let's get that out there.
Oh,
but
well.
I always remember he was the man in the gym when I came.
That's just words. I got scars
You
to
know.
show what you've done. So.
He was the man. And we were talking about that overhand right, pow, you know. And the thing about Timmy was he was going to go. He wants to spar every day, you know. He hit the bags and some other time. He just wants to spar.
Yeah,
you know?
he's definitely gonna go.
He wants to work.
You get
know?
in there with him, man. He says he's gonna get some light work. You get in there, start you light work for the first round. Then say, oh my Lord, I'm in a fight.
And then he'll tell you, well, you
Is
hit
this
me
for
hard
$100,000 or something?
Well, folks, we're ready to close tonight's show, but don't be discouraged. Over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to have each of these guys back individually, and you're going to get to hear their stories one-on-one. And I just want to thank you guys. You guys have, you know, other than my family, you're the closest friends that I have in this world. You know, we've been around the world together. We've had some laughs, and it's been a blast. And I just want to thank you guys for the memories.
Shoot,
Thank
thanks
you,
for having us,
Chris.
man.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
doing
Thank you.
everything you've done for
Oh
us,
yes,
you know.
yes. The gym, the training, the fights. You know, you've done a lot.
Yeah.
You really have.
Yep. I'm trying to follow in your shoes.
I never-
I'm
And
trying to
you-
do what you
You're
did.
doing
Awesome.
better than I did.
I don't know.
Folks, be sure to tune in again, same channel, same time next week to hear the rest of the story.
Can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody now do me like the Lord. Can't nobody.
So you may get knocked down, but and one thing that I learned in boxing as an amateur boxer, as long as I got up after I'd been knocked down, I wasn't knocked out. So if you get up, you might still have to fight, and you might have to fight a few more rounds, but if you'll just keep fighting and not quit, you'll be victorious.